How about that cigar?
How about that cigar?
We're getting creepy tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
So creepy.
Welcome to episode number 68 of How About That Cigar Live. Guys, thanks so much for joining us here live on Facebook, live on YouTube. If you're listening after the fact on the audio podcast, guys, thanks so much for listening to us while you drive down the road or whatever it is you do while you listen to audio podcast. If you garden, if you work out, if you're doing something, that is unmentionable while you listen to podcasts.
Hey, we don't judge.
We don't judge. We appreciate
judge.
it either way.
Yeah.
So again, thanks so much for joining us. It is episode number 68 of How About That Cigar Live. As always, brought to you live from the Drew Estate Cigar Studios, and we're going to tell you about the launch of the latest addition to the Deadwood lineup, Leather Rose. Ooh. To all retailers nationwide, uniting with her sisters, Sweet Jane, Fat Bottom Betty, and Crazy Alice, the spicy Leather Rose is the boldest lady of the bunch. This 5x54 torpedo features a rich Maduro wrapper and proves to be the spiciest of the Deadwood family.
She's spicy.
Lighting up the Leather Rose will fill the room with her exotic aroma, plus the effortless draw will leave you longing for more.
Oh, yeah.
The Deadwood Leather Rose is a 5x54 torpedo packaged in 24-count boxes and will be shipping in July. For more info, please visit drewestate.com. I couldn't even make it through that read today. So, guys, thanks again for joining us here live on How About That Cigar. It's Tuesday night. It's our favorite night of the week. We're excited. We have a great show for you this evening. But as always, we want to tell you a little bit about some of the, the stuff we have going on in the world right now. The baseball is back on. We're excited. Hasn't it been kind of weird watching games? It's
what I hate
in the stands.
You know what I hate is the little cutouts.
So I think it's weird too, but I found out
weird.
I found out something that I didn't realize, and my microphone's a little wonky here. But I found out something I didn't realize, and that is apparently, I don't know if it's every baseball park or what, but some at least. If you want, you can buy that seat behind home plate. You can buy a seat and have a cardboard cutout with your face put there, and then the money will go to charity.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if every ballpark's doing that or not, but I think it's kind of a cool thing. So,
I feel better about it.
Maybe look it up on your favorite team's website, look it up and see if maybe if there's a way you want to maybe give to charity that way. You can be famous and have your cardboard face on TV. And, baseball's been kind of weird to watch, seeing teams out there playing their hearts out and just to kind of, silence. Some places are piping in crowd noise, fake crowd noise. Some aren't. It's kind of interesting to watch. Our Minnesota Twins have been riding the line. They're up right now. They're playing the home opener. We played some road games, but we're on the home opener tonight. St. Louis. Last I checked, we were up 5-0. But we've done that for a few games where we get up early and then, back
Minnesota fashion.
Back comes the other team, and but I think that's a Minnesota thing. That's why the only Minnesota team I root for is the Twins. And as always, guys, we have been talking about this ever since the whole COVID thing started going on. Get out there into your local communities and support your local shops, and I'm talking about bars, restaurants, boutiques, cigar shops, whatever it is in your in your local area. Get out there and support local shops. Some places are starting to close again. Some are. It just call ahead to your favorite place, and especially to your local cigar shops. Call ahead, find out what their policies are, and once you know, go in there. Pick out your favorite cigars from the humidor and support those shops.
And do me a favor too, because
do Garrett a personal favor.
Thank you, Randy, for the update. Twins are up 6-0.
Nice, thank you.
If you're against the mask thing, just don't go out. So I had a handful of customers last Saturday who were adamant against the mask thing. And the problem I have is, even let's say I'm against it, which I'm not, but if I was, the business that I'm representing can get a serious fine for not enforcing the mask rule and be forced to close. So we're affecting people's livelihoods. It's an executive order in states where, it's in effect. So please wear a mask. If you don't want to, don't shit on the people that are needing to enforce it.
Yeah, as always, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Get out there, support your local shops. Do if they want you to follow certain protocols, follow the protocols they want you to, because that's part of them. They've got a lot of liability, and they have a lot on the line. A lot of these people have their lives invested in these small businesses. So, be nice and support local shops. So, guys, again, episode number 68. How about that cigar live? We're very excited, and we have a very special discount offer for all of our viewers and listeners right now tonight. So I want to bring in our special guest this evening. And as always, guys, our special guest is brought to you by Corona Cigar Company and coronacigar.com. They are the internet's largest and easiest to use virtual cigar store. Corona Cigar Company offers you the finest handmade cigars, humidors, and cigar accessories at the absolute lowest possible price. And you'll also find unique and limited cigars containing Florida sun-grown tobacco. As a proud American, president and founder of Corona Cigar Company, Mr. Jeff Borshowitz, believed it was possible to bring cigar tobacco farming back to Florida. At Corona Cigar Company and coronacigar.com, you'll find the best selection anywhere in the world of cigars containing this special Florida sun-grown tobacco. If you live in Florida or are just visiting, be sure to visit any of the great Corona Cigar locations in downtown Orlando, Sand Lake, Lake Mary, and also the Davidoff of Geneva Lounge in Tampa. For more info on all of that, please visit coronacigar.com and floridasungrown.com. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. Welcome to episode 68 of How About That Cigar, Lee Marsh from Stolen Throne Cigars. Lee, welcome to the show.
What's going on, guys?
Man,
we are living the dream.
Mm-hmm.
Garrett, I'm going to need you to say package again, please.
Okay. Package.
Love it. Let's go.
Thanks.
I'm ready.
I'm glad. Yeah. All right.
It's haunting. It really is
Well,
haunting.
and it's interesting because when we started having sponsors and different copies and stuff, a lot more of them fed into that bit. And I feel like either they changed it on purpose because not like that last Corona, I can't do anything with that. Like,
Yeah.
I can't do a thing.
Not with an attitude like that, you can't.
You know what?
Can't coach effort. You know what I mean?
Lee, I need you. I need you in my life.
Yeah. Between that and don't be a dick. I mean, this is gold.
It is. Yeah.
So I just I want to, before we go any further, I want to let everybody know, like I said a few minutes ago, we have a special offer for our listeners and viewers tonight, and I'm posting it in the comments as we speak. So check the link in the comments that I just put in there. That is for Ramsey Smoke Shop. Click on that link, and that will take you directly to the purchase page for Stolen Throne Cigars. Use the promo code HBTC, and you will get 10% off your purchase of Stolen Throne Cigars. So use that code HBTC. Ramsey Smoke Shop. Omar, our buddy, thank you so much, brother. We really appreciate it.
Omar,
awesome,
Omar is fantastic. Want to give a shout out to, we saw Chad come back. He was on vacation last week. Christopher. We really appreciate all the regular guys that support us and watch every week.
Yeah, absolutely.
It means a lot.
Yeah, it's been really cool, because we've only been doing this a year and a half or so, and it's been awesome and humbling to see people who actually care enough to genuinely come back every week and listen to our guests and hear about people's stories. And that's really what we do here. We want people to, like Lee, to be able to come on here and tell their stories, and because there's something so much more. I mean, cigars are awesome in and of themselves, but to be able to sit down and actually learn somebody's story and the story behind the brands and all this stuff, there's something that makes smoking that cigar even that much more gratifying. So thanks to our regulars. And so, Lee, before we go any further, tell us what you're smoking and drinking with us this evening.
Well, I'm smoking a Crook of the Crown Robusto right now, and I have a Driftless Glen straight rye whiskey single barrel store pick from Total Wine and More.
Very nice.
It's very cool. If you guys haven't it's like a 4-year rye, so it's a little bit young, but it's exceptional. I really like it. If
Nice.
you guys haven't tried it, check it out.
I live vicariously through others. 25 years sober.
Good for you.
So I often smell Matt's treats when he has treats, and
Yeah, well, yeah. What are those treats? You know what I'm saying?
well,
I mixed it up, but tonight,
yeah.
A few weeks ago, my wife and I went on a quick weekend trip to Door County, Wisconsin, which if you haven't been there or heard of it, it's basically the peninsula that goes up into Lake Michigan over by Green Bay. And it's this narrow peninsula.
Here's Wisconsin.
Yeah. So it's the thumb right there. So
I'm a visual learner. Thank you.
Yeah. There you go.
So it's and it's this narrow band of land that has, it's all coastline, obviously, on Lake Michigan, and there's a bunch of cool little towns and wineries and distilleries and all this stuff. And we stopped at one distillery that makes their own in-house barrel-aged gin.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm drinking gin and tonic that's made with barrel-aged gin and grapefruit tonic.
Wow.
And it is. And it's just a little,
just
small,
a nip, just
small,
a taste,
just a little, yeah,
just a little. This is actually made in Wisconsin.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Quentin.
So, Q.
Oh, come on, Lee, get it together.
Got an earthquake.
How many of those have you had?
That's none of your business.
Not too many.
Just one right after the other. That's all.
All right. So I'm you are a small batch guy. Recently new to the market. Sure. For the most part. Can you give us a little rundown of your history of cigars, maybe your first cigar, your origin, your Wolverine?
Yeah, so I've been smoking cigars probably 15 years. You always get that question a lot, like, what was your first cigar? I don't really know. I don't really remember what my first cigar is. I know, like, it was with my uncle, so he was a cigar smoker, and that's generally how it gets going, right? Someone turns you on to it, and then it becomes a bigger and bigger thing, and then I just got infatuated with it. And then I moved to Virginia here about 7 years ago, and that's when I met my partner, JR, and same thing. We're both really into cigars. We joined a local cigar club, started meeting people. I traveled for work, so started meeting more and more people in the industry, and it kind of just kept snowballing. And then I just got infatuated with the tobacco side of it, and especially the boutique cigars. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. Yeah.
And we've actually asked this to a couple other, guys that have smaller brands, and not even smaller brands, but newer brands. There's been so much going on in the last, and honestly, it hasn't even been a short time, 15, 20 years. There's been different governmental regulation things that come along to make things more difficult for cigar companies, for cigar shops, and even for cigar smokers. But with the environment that things have been like, honestly, in the last 5 years, with FDA taking over tobacco regulation and deeming regulations and substantial equivalency and all this stuff, I mean, I got to be honest, it has to be a time right now that I ask people, why would you? There has to be such a deep level of passion and care for the cigar culture as a whole to go through all the BS that's necessary to, I mean, imagine it as a massive company like Swisher International that owns Drew Estate, or Davidoff, or, General Cigar, some of these massive companies who have teams of lawyers who help them through all this stuff. But for a small time guy like you, starting a brand new cigar company within the last couple of years, I mean, how many times did you go back and say, am I really doing this? And what were some of the learning curves and stuff you had to go through in the beginning, realizing, oh man, there's a lot more to this than I thought?
Well, I never claimed to be the smartest guy out there. No, So that is a real part of it, right? And so I come from a legal compliance background, and so does my partner, and that's what a lot of people don't see. They see the success that we've accomplished and are grateful for over this last year and change, but they don't see the 2 to 3 years before that, where we're putting all our ducks in order, making sure we are doing something that's not a waste of time, and making sure that we're doing it correct. And that's kind of understanding where we're going to go, especially since it's as transparent as mud, right? So creating different avenues so that we can live on past this and continue to transition through whatever period comes through with the FDA. And so we set the goal out to be here for the long term. So we put the horse before the cart. So we made sure that we would be able to attack this one way or the other before we even got onto the market. So you're absolutely right. It is huge. There is obstacles, the user fees, and the things that come along with that. But if it's something you care about, there's a million reasons not to do something.
Yeah.
And you guys don't know me very well yet, but you could ask around. I'm not one to be told not to do something. So I'm too stubborn to give up. So we're here, and it was an obstacle, but it's not the boogeyman in the closet that everyone makes it seem to believe when you do the things you're supposed to do,
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you did a lot of the due diligence before you even placed an order for your cigars.
Absolutely.
From the factory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, that's really smart. And not everybody does that. I think there have been a couple smaller companies that have maybe placed the order for the cigars, got the cigars, shipped into a distributor in the States, and, started working on selling them to cigar shops, and then realized, oh shit, there's all this legal stuff that I've got to do, and I don't have the foggiest clue how to do it. So it's smart that you did all that beforehand, so the headaches are more few and far between.
Oh yeah, I mean they're still there, but I'll be honest with you, if JR's and my background had been different, we probably would have done the same thing, because you don't know what you don't know. And even when I can tell you, even in doing the due diligence, it's still a pain in the ass to figure out what you're supposed to do. But it just happens to be with us both having, the compliance background and that kind of stuff, that it ended up being our normal process anyway, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I always, because being able to visit different cigar factories, I love being in the factories and seeing all that stuff. And one of the things that interests me with smaller brands is how they develop those factory relationships and choose those factory relationships and things like that. So what is it that made you decide to go with the factory that you did for producing your cigars, and how did all that come to be?
It's a great question, because you're right. For a guy from Baltimore to start a company in Nicaragua, like the relationship building is the hardest part. We were lucky enough to where we were both traveling, and because we were so infatuated with cigars, the first thing we did when we got to a new city was go to a cigar lounge, right, and hang out. And then when you do that, you go to events, you meet people, you start talking to people, and then it kind of grows from there. And then you realize how small of a community it really is, even on the manufacturer side. The majority of us know one another, what, good or bad, and then it just kind of grows. And we had an opportunity because of those relationships that we built we were lucky enough to have a few people willing to work with us. We chose Noel because, hearkening back to me being stubborn, if we were going to fail, I wanted it to be because of something we created that didn't work out. Like, we just didn't have it, right? So, and you'd be surprised at how many people don't want to give you the total control when it comes to blending and tobacco selection and the way you roll things and the way that you do things. And that was at the heart of the whole reason we wanted to do Stolen Throne. Was being boutique guys, we started to notice things that we would do differently. Not necessarily bad, but just things that we would do differently. And so Noel asked around, and luckily we had a bunch of mutual acquaintances, and he said, okay, let's go. And I think he just took us seriously because we were on the next flight down to Texas and then Nicaragua. So it's been a no-brainer at this point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm putting this comment on the screen that Nelson actually put this comment up just a couple minutes before we even went live. Just discovered the line yesterday. Crown was amazing last night. Bought the call to arms. Very impressed. And what is that? I mean, that's got to be just extremely gratifying. Early on in the journey of Stolen Throne Cigars to, see that kind of admiration and support from customers. What is it like, in this day and age, interacting with your customers and also the retail partners that you guys have built relationships with?
It's exhilarating, man. It's really great because when you start out, it's all unknown, right? We always, like, JR and I joke about it, but it's not really a joke. Like, people ask about the Crook and why we did certain things, and it was a very basic fact. Like, if we couldn't sell them, we were going to smoke 10,000 of them, so we needed to like it. So, then it became this new company on the scene. They're jokes. They're not really supposed to be here. And then the abundance of just the crowd pushing us. I always say that, we own the company, but the consumer owns the brand. From them pushing us to their local retailers and going in and saying, why don't you sell this cigar? Like, this is a great cigar. That means a lot to us. We take it, we say it time and time again, but I take it extremely personal when someone spends their hard-earned money on our cigars, because cigars aren't cheap, especially now with everything going on with the pandemic, and people's budgets are even more strapped and they're still buying our cigars. I mean, that means a lot to us. And so, and the partner side, it's monumental in what we're trying to achieve. I mean, you see what Omar did tonight. So when we've turned retailers down, not out of spite or anything more than, if you don't believe in what we're trying to achieve and what we're doing, then it's not going to work, right? We came on the market with 2 Vitolas of 1 blend, and the whole point behind that was, and I had people in the industry, friends of mine who I respect greatly, they're like, man, maybe you should do a couple more. But I was honest about it. I said, man, I'm a new company. No one's ever heard of me. I'm asking you for shelf space. It's easier for me to get a retail box with 2 sizes on there than to get 6 boxes on there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so and it's just taken off. We're super grateful. I mean, of course. I mean, it's still surreal, like we talked about before the show. I always believe in what we were doing because our opportunity cost was so high. I wouldn't have done it otherwise. But I'd be lying if I told you we'd be here now this quick.
Yeah.
To remind everybody, Omar at Ramsey Smoke Shop has given viewers of HBTC a discount. Link is in both Facebook and YouTube. Please be sure to check out Stolen Throne Cigars. So, Lee, Stolen Throne. Tell us a little bit about Stolen Throne.
Like the name, or in general?
Yeah, no, the name.
Yeah, the what's the meaning behind the name Stolen Throne and the name of the blends?
This was a planned question. I know it was. No, this is a question we get a lot because the story has gotten out and about now, right? And it is 100% true. JR and I, like I said, we've been around the industry for quite some time. We have friends who own other brands, and so we've been, in the circles, if you will. We were at a dinner probably 6 months or so before we kind of locked everything in. And honestly, we were having a really hard time with naming the company, what we wanted to do. We had the tobacco, we had the cigar, but the brand, that we wanted it to be something that we could believe in, something that I didn't have to go out of my way to sell it to you, because it is what we are. And Stolen Throne did start with a very spiteful, dickish move on my part. We were at a dinner with some other people in the industry, and there was certain individuals there that they're not my favorite. and they made a comment, something, you know, the word had gotten out that we're launching this brand and that we were working with Noel, and the comment was made like, "There's not enough room at the table. There's no seat here for you." And I had been drinking. I had been drinking that night.
That comment was made to your face?
It was to my face, so I do appreciate that. But then I had like my Goodwill, Goodwill Hunting moment. How do you like them apples? I said, "Well, fuck you. I'll steal one." And then, you know, we were sitting down a couple weeks later. JR goes, "Hey, you remember that time that you told that guy to shove it up his ass? How about Stolen Throne Cigars?" And it just went. And then the Crook of the Crown just came organically after that. You know, it really played into it. And the call to arms was just the follow-up, like, you know, coming back from the Crook, because I told you guys, like, we had a really hard time deciding what should be next, because, you know, we had worked so hard on the Crook, spent so much time developing it, and it's been so well received. Like, how do you follow that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's what the call is.
And what's the tell us about the symbolism behind the design here with the is that a crow or a raven on top of that crown there?
It's a raven. So the crown is obviously part of the whole Stolen Throne moniker, but the raven is because I'm from Baltimore. JR and I are actually huge Ravens fans. We share season tickets. And so it just kind of became an homage to where we came from and what we're doing.
Best raven of all time.
Oof, that's hard. Everyone's gonna say Ray Lewis, but I'm gonna say Ed Reed.
Oh yes,
Ooh.
big cigar guy too, Ed Reed.
Yeah, he is.
Huge Crook of the Crown fan, by the way. So
Oh,
Nice, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
that honestly, how did you first find out that Ed Reed was a huge Crook of the Crown fan, and what did that feel like when you found that out?
Funny story. So we have great friends and family in Baltimore. Obviously, that's where I'm from. Spartan Cigar Lounge and Dan's Cigar Lounge. They support us from the day one, right? And one of the owners of Spartans, actually, for the longest time, was he owns restaurants well, and so he did the official tailgate for the Ravens. So he asked us to come down and sell the cigars there while we're at the tailgate, drinking and eating, having a good time. And I see this big crowd, like this massive crowd, come through. I'm not really paying attention, and then I get a tap on the back of my shoulder, and it's Ed Reed.
Wow.
And he's smoking. He's like, "Man, this is a fine cigar." So shakes my hand, and then he wants to do his own stuff. He's getting into business, so I gave him my card, contact information, and then that day at halftime, I'm thinking, okay, I'll never see the guy again. That was pretty cool. He texts me while I'm sitting at the game.
What?
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I don't get really weirded out about that kind of stuff, but that was fucking awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
he signed one of my Crook hats. He took a bunch of crooks with him, and then that was pretty cool. Yeah. So I chat with him every now and then. He's a great guy. Loves cigars. Loves the community and all of that.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a great story.
Well, I think that and that's something that we've seen a lot. It's been going on forever. I mean, there have been big sports figures that have been cigar guys for decades and beyond. But it seems like in the last few years, and I think this is in the end going to be something that is beneficial to the cigar industry, the cigar culture, is seeing a lot of these big time sports celebrities that are not necessarily outspoken, but they're also not going to shy away from just being open about the fact that they enjoy premium cigars.
Yeah,
on a big time level.
Yeah, I mean, I think we don't want to think that we need it, but it does give us some legitimacy. I mean, because if you're in the culture, you feel like it's already legitimate, because I always say it's not really a hobby, it's a lifestyle. Like if you're
100%.
if you're really into cigars, like I have a lounge in my house. I've told you guys before, like my closest friends, I met through cigars outside of like, my college teammates and that and whatnot. And I think you're 100% true. You see, like I said, like Ed Reed, he's at his Hall of Fame induction smoking a cigar next to his bust.
Yeah.
You see Joe Burrow smoking a Karl Malone cigar, after the national championship game. I mean, those are memorable moments, right?
Yeah.
And even if it's not, I hate when it looks like it's cliche, right? Like, oh, this is a big moment, let's have a cigar. But some of your finest moments. I mean, the Remy Jean for us is an event only that I didn't really want to do, but it was a blend that Noelle and I came up with for the birth of my daughter, and so it's meant just to be shared with friends and family. JR and the guys that work with us here at Stolen Throne, like, they pushed me to make it an event only. But those kind of things, those moments that it captures, I have guys reach out to me like, "Hey, man, I just found out I have my first kid and I burned a Remy." Like, that's the cool shit. That's
Yeah.
the shit that's the shit that I care about. Like, that's
Yep.
because that's what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
So I do think, like we were talking, it does give you some legitimacy, even if we want to believe that we don't need it. It's still giving you that reach, right? Like, it's still putting it out there. Like, me smoking a cigar compared to Ed Reed smoking a cigar has totally different impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I think I'm pretty fucking cool, he's
Right.
cool. He's cool. He's cooler than me.
Yeah. Sorry, but you'll never be Ed Reed cool. I mean,
Damn it.
you're great in my book, but you'll never be Ed Reed cool.
A man's got to know his limits. I get it.
So, sorry, sorry, I was reading through my list of questions here. So, you talked a little bit about, the factory and production relationship with Noelle, but who were some of the other people that gave you good, were good mentors for you, specifically in relation to your brand, to Stolen Throne Cigars, who mentored you and gave you, good advice and maybe even, tough words of, tough love, as it were.
It's funny that you say that, because there's one moment that I have that I always kind of harken back to, because it's very easy to get caught up in the hype and everything that's going on, and you kind of get so stressed out about this kind of stuff, because in this business there's so much stuff that you can't control. Like, once you order the cigars and you're here and they're there, unless you live in Nicaragua and you're there constantly, there's so much that could go wrong that's out of your hands, right? And I'll never forget, I was sitting with Island Jim at the Leaf and Bean. It's just him and I just bullshitting.
I love that guy, by the way.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
What a cool dude. Has no concept of time, like living his best life all the time. Like, he's awesome. He's my hero. But I was telling him how much I love the cigars. I love what they're doing. And he looks me dead in the face and he goes, "Lee, don't take this the wrong way. I'm really glad, but even if you didn't, it's just a cigar. We could still be friends. It's just a cigar."
Wow. That's cool. That kind of, I think that's good advice, because it gets you, sometimes, like you said, we kind of get stuck in our own headspace and we get caught up in the moment. We get caught up in, even sometimes we get too caught up in the logistics and all that. And then, just for somebody like Jim Robinson to come along and say, "Hey, just breathe. It's just a cigar."
You laugh it off, but it's very stressful, because for us, like, our biggest thing is we want to do things the right way. We want to handle business the right way. We want to be transparent. We're here to be partners. We're here to provide a good product. And another story to go, that Chris Kelly, good friend of mine, owner of Ezra's Eye, him and Kyle Hoover, and they own Cigar Federation. I'll never forget this, man. Like, so we had just got 100 out of 100 from Catman. The buzz is going strong. They had a massive order coming in for Cigar Federation, and it gets lost in transit. So I'm actually traveling back from Texas to Virginia, and like, I call Chris. He just laughs. Like, the first thing I hear when he picks up the phone is he just laughs and goes, "Welcome to cigar manufacturing."
So, like I said, I bought one of these Crook of the Crown at Ramsey Smoke Shop a few weeks ago. Went into the shop and asked Omar, what does he recommend? This was one of the first cigars he led me to. And I enjoyed it a lot. I really do. Tell us about the blend for the Crook of the Crown, and kind of what kind of smoking experience can people expect from it?
Yeah, so the Crook is a San Andreas Maduro over Indonesian binder and Nicaragua fillers. It's super bold, very full flavor. medium plus, but the strength is understated. It's more about the flavor. You're going to get a deep espresso flavor from the Somoto tobacco. You're going to have a nice spice, and depending on Vitola, whether it's the Robusto or the Toro, you're going to have a varying degree of sweetness. But it's going to be complex, and it's going to be straightforward throughout. I love that cigar. We put a lot of time and effort into that cigar. And one of the things that, we always talk about, you mentioned us being small batch and boutique, but really to me, all that means is that we just focus on the product. One of our biggest things is, we smoke our blends for 2 to 3 years before they ever hit the market. I mean, we had the call to arms done probably a year and a half ago. Yeah. And we were just waiting till we thought it was ready to bring. And obviously add 6 months because of COVID. It was supposed to launch like April 1st. April Fools.
Yeah. And so the call to arms is going to start hitting stores this week. Yeah. Or next week. And what can there's the beautiful band. What can tell us about the blend for Call to Arms and kind of the smoking experience around that one?
So the Call is a Sumatra over all Nicaraguan binder and fillers, completely different from the Crook. As we alluded earlier, no matter what, it's going to be compared to the Crook. I know that, but I wanted to create something completely different on the other side of the spectrum. It's more spicy, creamy, sweetness. The finish on it is intoxicating. It is a lot stronger than it seems. It's actually a stronger cigar than the Crook in terms of nicotine content. But the finish is probably the biggest draw that you're going to get from the cigar. It's long lasting, super creamy, has a great spice that kind of hangs on the palate. It's super well balanced, a beautiful wrapper. Like it's a cool cigar. I'm really excited and nervous to hear the feedback. This is another one of our babies, but I'm excited to hear what people have to say.
Oh yeah.
Well, and for the people that watch, the regulars, you'll know that Matt and I are honest about our reviews when we talk about cigars. We don't just call Joe Schmo Cigar to have them on our show to fill a spot. We have guys on and companies on that we believe in the product. And this cigar will melt your face in such a good way. If you haven't had the Crook of the Crown, please click on that link, and I know this is seeming like a shameless, really plug because Lee's on the show and it's easy for me to do that. That's not what this is. 100%. This is a legit cigar. You gotta go get it. It is every bit of what Lee just said it is. And I know that you were talking about the call to arms with the finish, but with the Crook, actually the finish is fantastic on this cigar too. It lasts a long time and it is just tasty. One of the things that when I'm smoking, if I need to keep hitting that cigar to get that good flavor, I'm going to hotbox it. I'm going to over smoke it. It's going to get bitter.
You said hotbox.
I did. With this cigar, you can smoke it at a leisure pace. Enjoy it. The flavors last. Good job.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I think Garrett's totally right about this. The finish on this one, it's a lingering finish on this Crook of the Crown, and it's really interesting because sometimes you get cigars where the flavor profile is consistent with the aroma profile, and that's also consistent with the finish, where you get similar notes on all three of those factors. But with this one, they're
completely different. Yeah.
The draw itself, the draw, and then the retrohale, and then the finish, each have kind of their own unique sort of characteristics. And I tell you this too, this cigar makes me salivate a lot.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things, right? Like and that's kind of one of the things that we focused on is that's quality tobacco, right? Like it shouldn't dry your mouth out. Like if you, you have the pairing culture, and if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But you shouldn't have to drink while you're smoking it.
Yeah, or spit.
Right.
I'm a spitter, but I said
we're learning so much about you.
we are.
Oh, sorry. Please.
I could
please
really.
continue.
I'm gonna refrain.
I'm just glad I wasn't drinking my drink right now.
And with this cigar, I have no desire. I'm not dried out, but yet I don't have the desire to spit like I will with, probably half the cigars I smoke.
And so that's, as much as we love hearing that, we want to take credit for it, but that's what a cigar should smoke like. That's all about the process. That's about having aged and properly processed tobacco. And so as much as we want to take credit for that, that's really what every cigar you buy should do. Maybe the flavors will change, maybe the aromas will be different, but it shouldn't. You should have those similar qualities at the bare minimum. And so that's one thing we focused on, is that. And the fact is, our stuff's ready to smoke right off the truck. Right? Like I one of the biggest things I hated as a boutique guy was you spend $200 to $300 on a box of cigars, you got to sit on it for 3 months before you can smoke it. Like, that's absurd. Like, it's my job to age the tobacco, not yours. So, and I think the Crook is kind of the swan song to everything we talked about of what we were trying to do, everything we saw differently, how we would do it, and it kind of brought itself together in that cigar.
Yeah.
And I think the call to arms just kind of takes it a difference. It's going to be different on your palate. It's going to be a different experience, but it's going to have those same qualities we just talked about. Oily wrappers, great construction, good draw, but it's going to have that long finish, but it's going to be a completely different finish. I think probably from the outside of the smoker standpoint, the best thing about the Crook is the room note. Like, that thing just smells fantastic when someone else is smoking it.
So when you were creating this cigar, is this the cigar that you wanted to create? Did you, like a chef, they say great chefs cook for themselves. Did you create and chef this cigar for yourself, or
Sure.
Is that how that went down for you?
Yeah, I mean, because so having the background that I do, I have an MBA, and the weird thing about the cigar industry was a big adjustment for me was the cigar industry kind of breaks the traditional rules of business, right? What's the number one rule of business is you're not the customer. Mm-hmm. But if I don't love the cigar, if I don't love and passionate about what I'm trying to get you to buy, how the hell can I expect you to spend your money on it?
Yep.
And I'm being 100% honest. JR and I built a cigar that we liked because if we couldn't sell it, we had to smoke a shit ton of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it did, when it came to blending, like, my blending style is the fact that I let the tobacco do the talking, right? I try not to be myopic and say, I want to do a Habano this time, or I want to do a Maduro this time. Like, I don't do that because I feel like you miss out on opportunities by doing that.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I'm a huge Habano guy, and I wanted that cigar to be a Habano. It just didn't work. It was way too strong. It would have been you would have smoked it, but then you wouldn't have been able to smoke it again the next day or right after. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't the intent at all. And I'm not one of those guys that has a morning cigar or a breakfast cigar. Like, I don't do that. Like, I reach for the same stuff every day. And the Crook is something I can smoke it in the morning, afternoon, dinner, no problem. But we blended it to what we liked, but also what we thought other people would like. And you don't know that as your first cigar. And so it's really complex. It's really out there and different. I don't think you could smoke that cigar and say it reminds me of another cigar. So when you do that, you have that apprehension of, like, are people going to get it? And lucky enough they have. So then you get you a little bit more brazen to try more things and do things differently. So we'll try it again with the call and see.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you just mentioned is interesting, because that is something that we get a lot, because we review cigars and we know a lot of people that review cigars, and it's really common that, and you've probably been through this too. It's really common that you'll smoke a cigar and sometimes almost immediately that cigar will remind you of another cigar that you like.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's not a bad thing. It's actually really common. But I have to be honest, I'm not getting that with this. But at the same time, this cigar is really good. But I'm not sitting here smoking it going, oh yeah, this reminds me of the XYZ cigar. It seems to be its own thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that was never in my forefront. Like when I was blending that, like it wasn't okay. How do I make something different than everybody else? I was solely focused on the flavors. Did it hit the notes that I wanted to have? Did it do the things that I needed it to do for me to enjoy it? Because then your hope is that other people. There's always going to be someone that doesn't like it because it's just not for them. Cigars are subjective, like anything else. Just because you like a cigar and I don't doesn't mean that you're right and I'm wrong, and vice versa. It just means for that smoker, that experience is just not for them.
Yeah.
And so you build it from the top down.
Yeah.
How about packaging? What was your approach to packaging?
So we get that a lot, and to be honest with you, I kind of thought about it in terms of a boutique guy who has a shit ton of cigars. Like I have about 5,000 cigars in my personal inventory. Like I love cigars. Even now, I'm not one of those guys. Like I post everything. Like I smoke a bunch of stuff. I smoke plenty of the stuff with guests you guys have had. I don't take the bands off. Like I love cigars. It's, they worked hard. They make good cigars too. Right. So my thought was, if we did the bundle, it would be different. And the fact that it's easier to store, right? When people are buying more and more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And we did everything with the mindset of the brick and mortar retailers, but also the consumer in mind. The display box fits our display box. It holds both vitolas, but it fits in roughly the same amount as another company's single box. So it maximizes and optimizes shelf space, which makes it easier for a retailer to bring us on. We did our pricing to be geared towards that. There's incentives for bundles and stuff like that. So, and I just thought it looked pretty fucking cool.
Yeah,
like
man.
the black paper with the wax seal was kind of just a cool thing that kind of played with what we were doing.
Awesome.
Well, and I also really like because one of the things, just from a cigar smoking perspective, not diving into all the review stuff, just for us every day smoking a lot of cigars, it can be annoying if you regularly have to keep worrying about the cigar going out and things like that. Combustion is very important to me. Proper combustion is very important to me.
Sure. Me too.
And this is the second one of these that I've smoked. The first one, like I said, was a couple weeks ago, and they're consistent. It burns very well. It stays clean and tight, and there's tons of smoke output, and I don't have to worry about it. No. I don't have to fight with it because, as we all know, when you keep bringing the lighter back to the cigar, it's going to start to get harsh.
Yeah,
and you don't have to worry about that with this, and most likely, and I'm still learning a lot of the ins and outs of blending for combustion. But correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of that has to do with that Indonesian binder because it's a really great combustion tobacco. Is that right?
It can be, yeah. And the reason that we went with the Indonesian binder was solely for the fact that it didn't monopolize or manipulate the taste, the flavor profiles.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're using a thick wrapper like we are, the higher priming of the San Andreas Maduro, which is a terribly thick tobacco, right? You don't want to add more thickness because then you get more oils, more congealed oils over time, which leads to that harshness. So there is a lot of thought that goes into the selection of the binders when you're blending. But you are right; it does contribute to a nice combustion. But I mean, the call uses a Habano binder, and it does the same thing. But it's just about being mindful when you're constructing the cigar.
Yeah. So, and this is something that we like to ask people. And I think I know the answer already, but I'm still curious. That desert island cigar from from Stolen Throne. If you the Sophie's Choice moment, which one would you choose?
Oh shit! If it had to be a cigar that we make, It would probably be the Crook solely because that was our, inaugural blend.
Yeah.
Like they offer such different experiences. But the Crook was like our coming out party, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to pick a cigar that we didn't make, it's easily the old Camacho Corojos.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, the old school.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite cigars of all time.
Yeah. So let's transition a little bit and move into this week's Smokabulary word. And guys, as always, Smokabulary is brought to you by AJ Fernandez. Born and raised in Cuba, AJ Fernandez now produces unparalleled premium cigars in Esteli, Nicaragua. The day-to-day operations at Tabacalera AJ Fernandez are managed under the watchful eye of Mr. Fernandez himself in order to ensure superior quality. The AJ Fernandez portfolio of premium cigars provides blend, strength, and flavor profiles to match the preferences of any premium cigar consumer. Whether it's New World, Dias de Gloria, San Latano, Enclave, or Bellas Artes, you are sure to be satisfied with a premium cigar from AJ Fernandez. So this week's Smokabulary word is frog stripping.
Oh, she's hot.
She is. Yeah, I saw her over at the Rusty Nail a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Really works.
No, so guys, if you haven't been to a cigar factory, first of all, when things start to open up and you're able to travel again, I highly recommend finding a factory that does tours and go on a cigar tour factory and learn about the process, because it'll make you appreciate these cigars even more. But frog stripping, put simply, is the tobacco leaf has a main center rib that connects it to the plant that goes down the center almost all the way through. And frog stripping is when they remove that center rib from the leaf, and it separates it out and sort of makes the leaf look like a frog after that center rib has been removed from the leaf. I wish I had a leaf here that I could show you, but I don't have any just raw cured tobacco leaves laying around here. So that is frog stripping, and that is this week's Smokabulary word, brought to you by AJ Fernandez.
The funny thing about frog stripping too is the legs, as you were alluding to. You can always tell. Sometimes you'll get a cigar that was actually rolled backwards, meaning that the leaf was put in the wrong side, and you'll know because the first few inches while you get through those legs has no taste.
Yeah, it's and it's really fun to watch them do that frog stripping in the factory, because
they're fast, man.
They are so fast at it. I mean, they can go through like a bale in a couple hours. It's crazy. And it's really, and some of them use these little machines that look scary as hell, because it seriously, if you get a pinky finger or something caught in there,
that doesn't count. If they don't do it by hand, it doesn't count.
Yeah. So I think, is it time? It is time for this week's Numero de los Muertos.
Numero de los Muertos is brought to you by Oveja Negra Brands. They bring you premium smoking experiences forged from tobacco, time, and talent. Comprised of Black Label Trading Company, Blackwork Studio, Dissonant, and Emilio, Oveja Negra Brands provide smokers uncompromising blends renowned for their flavor and lasting impression. Oveja Negra, where art and tobacco collide. Join the flock. Visit ovejanegracigars.com for more. All right. As we explained to Lee early in the show, I give a number, and it's up to our guest, Matt, the people watching, to guess how 24 people a year die in the U.S. from this thing. Currently, that's the current number, 24. Here's the first kind of clue, is that number in 1968 was 567. That number in 1912 was 2,800 a year.
And right now it's 24.
24.
All right. As always, viewers, leave your guesses in the comments. We'll all play together. This is a tough one. Low numbers are always tougher.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Lee, jump in if you have any questions too. We can ask for hints along the way. He may refuse to give them, but
castration.
Wow, that's a good one to look up.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Don't Google that. Don't Google it on your work computer.
Chad coming in. No, it is not poorly made alcohol. It is not castration.
Constipation.
Ooh, good stuff. No.
Damn it.
So something that obviously, I mean, if it's really low today and it was higher, the further you go back, the higher the number goes. It seems like it would be something to do with advancements in medical science or disease control or vaccines or something like that, maybe.
Yeah. Antibiotics.
Or safer it could be safer workplaces. Are these are the
So Lee is 100% correct in his last comment.
Ooh, yeah, antibiotics.
okay.
It is not measles. Randy, good guess.
Syphilis.
It is syphilis.
Oh my god.
I don't know if I should be happy that I got that or I should.
Good job, man.
Wow.
Pull syphilis just right out. I love it. So yeah,
I have
24.
a particular set of skills.
Well, now you can go back to your support group and let them know that you have contributed.
But this was terrible. This was terribly planned. This should have been episode 69.
I know.
Oh, you're right.
I know.
I should have had that for next week.
Missed opportunities.
But that makes me think of something I can do for next week.
So back in 1912, there were 2,500. You said,
yeah,
and then so well, I mean,
and then 1968, it dropped to it was 560 something.
It makes sense. I mean, because in 1912, I mean, getting a hangnail was almost a death sentence in 1912.
Yeah.
I mean, it got Al Capone, right? I mean,
Al Capone.
It eats your brainstem, so.
That's right. So there are actually
that's what killed Al Capone.
Yeah, syphilis.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So the deal is that there are 3 types of syphilis. Obviously, it's all contracted the same way, but it can either be cardiac syphilis, it can be nervous syphilis, which was Al Capone, and the third one escapes me. But there are 3 kinds that it can develop into and eventually kill somebody. But one little dose of antibiotics will completely take care of syphilis.
I didn't know that there was multiple types. That's interesting.
Well, there's also the Sesame Street type, right? Oh no, sorry, that was Snuffleupagus.
That's
Never mind.
Yeah, that's Snuffies. That's a furry thing. You guys,
that was bad. I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize to all our viewers. I'm so sorry, Lee. I have no excuse.
Everything cool we just did, you just ruined it.
I just took everything to a bad place.
Well, that was this week's Numero de los Muertos.
All right, so Lee, if you could choose to hear the thoughts of one living person for 10 minutes, who would it be and why?
Please say me. Please say me.
I know what you're thinking. I don't have to.
That's easy.
Probably Dennis Rodman.
Oh my gosh! I think we had that one other time. Maybe
I don't think we did.
Maybe not.
Because in my mind, it's just like a walking Dr. Seuss book. Like good or bad, I just think it's pretty.
Especially when you're in North Korea, like North Korean.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta think like. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty easy one.
I love it.
I really like that Kim Jong-un. He eats his pudding with a spoon.
Yeah. Oh, look, rainbows.
All right,
that would look really good on my smart car.
I think my little cocktail is starting to
do things.
Do things. My brain is maybe it's syphilis. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be,
It
man.
could be syphilis.
Now we're gonna get weird.
That's frog trooper was weird.
This is the part of the show where shit gets weird. All right, Lee. If you were about to get into a fight, what soundtrack music would come on?
About to get in a fight. Probably like DMX's Rough Rider Anthem or something.
That's what I'm talking about. That's
Like,
the second time that's been.
Let's fight to win.
Actually,
you know what I mean?
That was my answer when a guest asked us. We had one guest who eventually asked us, and that was my answer.
Yeah, I think the next gun law is going to be like you can't have a concealed carry permit and listen to DMX. Someone's gonna get hurt.
They're gonna check they'll confiscate your phone and check your Spotify playlist.
This guy listens to yeah.
All right, so
it's darker. Hell, it's hot as on here. He can't have this.
So choose one of the following. You could hit a home run as a starting pitcher. You could score a touchdown as a defensive lineman. You could score a hockey goal as the goalie, or you could score a soccer goal as the goalie.
I think I would hit a home run.
Yeah. Yeah.
I played football, right? But I think that hitting a baseball at the major league level is probably one of the hardest things to do.
Definitely.
Yeah, man.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, look at Chris Davis. He shows you that.
Dude.
Love it. All right. So what is the number one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's a brand new premium cigar consumer?
Try as much as you can. You know, you develop your palate. And a lot of times people don't do that because a lot of times the developing your palate side comes from smoking things you don't like. And that's a big thing. And even on this side of the table, it's still like, even if there's certain tobaccos that I don't really care for, but you need to smoke them in order to understand the flavor profiles and kind of the expansion of the tobaccos and that kind of stuff. But so I would just say smoke as much as you can, different things.
And what I'm starting to realize is that cigar smokers are a lot like my kids. I've got kids that will eat anything, and then I've got a couple kids that are very picky about what they eat. And it's the same in the cigar industry. Sure. There are people who they have found what they like, and that is it. And that's totally fine if that's how you roll. I love variety. I love to both eat and smoke a lot of different things. And I'm with you, Lee. I encourage people
But I think that's all linear too, right? Like, I'm a foodie. Like, I eat a bunch of shit. I like to go to different restaurants and do a bunch of different things. And I think that's me as well with, bourbons and ryes, like it is with cigars. I think, and the people that can enjoy one thing, I mean, I think that's pretty admirable. Like, I would get so bored just smoking the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah. I mean, I do smoke a lot of Stolen Throne things, but I'll be honest with you, I think the guys that work with us and for us smoke way more than I do in terms of our brand, because there's plenty of other shit that people making great cigars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and that's thank you very much for teeing up the segue just perfectly, because our next segment is what we call Notable Smokable. It's something that Garrett and I have smoked in the last week, yourself as well, something that just stood out to us. It could be a cigar that's been on the market forever that we revisited for the first time in many years, or something that's brand new that we just tried. Lee, what is something that you've smoked recently that just kind of caught your attention?
There's two of them that I really like. One's kind of new. The other one's been out for some time. I really enjoy the Tatuaje Escasos. I think that's just a superior cigar, man. I text Pete all the time. I tell him that I know that he's put addictive agents in there. I've smoked a ton of them over COVID, like a ton.
Like KFC.
Yeah, and then
an addictive chemical in his chicken that makes you crave it fortnightly, smart ass. Sorry, go ahead.
And then the Illusione Candela 88.
Ooh. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, Candela. That's one of
the only ones that I like.
I agree. I'm not the biggest Candela fan. There's there's a few out there. Like the Fomorian is a very good cigar.
Yep.
But the Candela 8.8 and the 8.88 from Dion it's awesome. It's a kick-ass cigar. I smoked one of those today, actually. I made eye contact with it here in the ashtray.
Eye contact.
Eye contact is important.
Eye contact is important. So mine this week was actually, and we keep giving this love to Omar, but this just happened to be the one that I put on my notable smokable list. On Friday, there was a Black Label Trading Company event at Omar's shop, at Ramsey Smoke Shop. And I picked up a big handful of cigars, and they had some of the new Killer Bee Swarm, which is Cameroon. And very different experience than the original Killer Bee. But I think I actually like it better. As good as the original Killer Bee is, I think I like it better than the original.
Have you smoked the Aladino Cameroon?
Yeah, that Lonsdale size in the Aladino Cameroon is ridiculous.
Yeah, the Lonsdale. I've smoked like a box of those. Those Lonsdales are really good.
Yeah, really good. What was yours, Garrett?
So for me, it was HVC 500.
Yes.
And that, is just, it's a solid cigar. It's one of those cigars you can always count on to perform well, and yeah, sat outside late at night. Me and my boy were watching that comet that came.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And it turned out to be a beautifully clear night. I was scared because it was cloudy just earlier on the peak night that we were supposed to be able to see it here. And we got to see it, and it was fantastic.
Awesome. All right. So for our viewers and listeners, give you an idea of a couple things we have coming up soon. Next week on August 4th, I cannot believe it's going to be August already, but next week on August 4th, this is something I'm really excited about. I mean, we're excited about every guest, but this is a really interesting story. Tony Barrios from Stolen Cigars. I'm going to figure out exactly how to pronounce it when we talk to him. Not affiliated in any way, shape, or form with Sylvester Stallone. Tony actually is a champion cut horse rider, and got into the cigar business and has been really making a name for the brand over the last year or so, maybe around that time, and brought on Todd Vance as the sales director. And Todd has a storied history in the cigar business, and it's a brand that we're excited to learn more about. So Tony's going to be on the show next week on August 4th.
Does he have any affiliation with Vance Refrigeration?
Todd Vance Refrigeration.
Damn it, Lee.
No, wait, is it Todd? No, it's not Todd Vance.
It's
Bob.
Bob Vance. Bob
Vance.
Vance Refrigeration. Nice to meet you.
What line of work are you in there, Bob? And then the following week, August 11th, our good friend, his second appearance on the show, Jeff Borshowitz from Corona Cigar Company and Florida Sungrown Farms. Lee, give everybody a final idea. Where's the best place for them to get all the latest up-to-date information on Stolen Throne Cigars?
Yeah, you can reach out. We're on Instagram and Facebook. That's the easiest way. We're super, responsive. We like to reach out. We like to, interact with the customers and consumers. You can also check us out on Cigar Federation, and plenty of our partners do a great job, like Omar. We're all over. So we're growing constantly, which is really humbling, and we're grateful for that. But yeah, check us out. Shoot us a message. Happy to talk to you.
Awesome. And a final reminder for viewers and listeners, this discount code is not going to last forever. So I'm putting the link up on the screen. You can find the link in the comments. Click on the link and go to Ramsey Smoke Shop. This will take you directly to the page to buy Stolen Throne Cigars. Use the promo code HBTC for 10% off your purchase, and pick up some Stolen Throne Cigars from there. Mm-hmm. Lee, thanks again so much, brother, for spending time with us this evening and teaching us about your brand and sharing your story with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man. Thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate your patience for having me on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So all our viewers and listeners, as always, thanks for listening on the podcast. Thanks for watching on Facebook and YouTube. If you have any questions, email us directly on the website, howaboutthatcigar.com. Follow us on social media at HBT Cigar. And until we see you next time, burn cigars,
not bridges.
See you guys.
Thanks guys.